10 weird fake bodybuilders. Biceps like Popeye's, but with oil on the muscles? These people did build their bodies through extreme measures. Number 1. Romario Dos Santos Alves. A body sculpted like a Greek god always draws attention, but Brazilian Romario Dos Santos pushed it to the edge.
Os músculos.
Romario rose to fame due to 2 large muscle bulges in both his arms, which were 25.5 inches wide and made him look like a bulging human Hulk. It all started at age 21 when he worked as a bodyguard and dreamed of becoming a bodybuilder. Then he was introduced to the world of a substance called synthol. After injecting himself with said substance, the young man became addicted to the extent of having muscles that made him look no longer human. This brought him medical difficulties until finally the doctors gave him an ultimatum. Either he'd stop using this substance and get treatment, or they'd amputate his arms. That's because the substance began to form rocks inside. Luckily, Romario gave up his addiction and underwent surgery to remove the synthol from his arms in 2016. Number 2. Arlindo De Souza. Surely when you think of bodybuilding, very well-sculpted bodies come to mind, but that's not the case for Arlindo De Souza's physique. He's known as the Mountain in his native Brazil due to his huge deformed 29-inch biceps he loved to show off. The key behind this cartoonish appearance were injections that included a cocktail of petroleum-based oil and alcohol. Well, it was no secret that Arlindo loved using synthol, the same substance that caused deformities and even death in many other bodybuilders. The injection of this toxic substance started at age 21 when his body began to change radically, but now, in his 50s, he's suffering the consequences. The oil injected into his body has already started to cause health problems, but doctors refuse to operate on him unless it's a severe medical emergency, although they say the damage has already been done. Number 3. Gregg Valentino. Gregg Valentino is an example of what you should never do if you want to have a staggering body. When he was 20, this American citizen had the body of a Greek god. However, when he reached 38, his youth left along with his physical fitness. His plan to keep those muscles was to inject himself with large amounts of steroids. But Gregg wanted to go much further, so he started using synthol, after which his muscles ballooned to disproportionate levels. That substance, combined with excessive hours in the gym, led him to have 23.6-inch wide arms. This caused many bodybuilders to disown him as they believed he gave the sport a bad image. Sadly, the fun came to an end when his arm muscles finally gave in and Gregg was rushed to the hospital. Although the doctors managed to save much of his muscles, the huge scars on his arms will be a reminder of how close he was to losing everything. Number 4. Tony Geraldo. In the bodybuilding world, it's usual to idealize Arnold Schwarzenegger. But Brazilian Tony Geraldo took that fanaticism to the limit, especially when he injected Potenay B12 into his muscles. This is a drug usually given to sick horses as a muscle stimulant, but shouldn't be used by humans. Tony Geraldo used it as a muscle stimulant that, combined with many hours of exercise, grew his biceps to 27.5 inches wide and his chest to 28 inches. To maintain these muscles, Tony eats up to 6,000 calories a day, and even his wife confessed that she'd have left him by now if it wasn't because she also likes his large muscles. But doctors have already warned him to stop injecting himself as his skin may not endure any more muscle growth. Just look at him, he looks like he's about to explode. Number 5. Kirill Tereshin. The exercise routine of a mixed martial arts fighter is rather demanding, and their sculpted bodies are proof of this. But the Russian Kirill Tereshin decided to take an extreme path. Also known as the Russian Popeye, Kirill injected up to 101 fluid ounces of synthol into each of his arms, making them look like a pair of bazookas. His biceps were up to 24 inches wide, which led him to have a pretty bizarre appearance, the same that made him famous on the internet. During his first mixed martial arts fight, he realized that his big, oil-filled muscles didn't work in his favor, and he lost in less than a minute. Also, by the end of 2019, the pain in his muscles had become unbearable, so he decided to remove all that dead muscle in his arms. Up to 202 fluid ounces of petroleum jelly was removed from his muscles after 4 surgeries. Scary! Number 6. Valdir Sagato. Imagine being so thin in your youth and now looking like Popeye on steroids. Well, that was the case with the Brazilian Valdir Sagato. At first glance, anyone can tell that his body didn't undergo a natural transformation, but Valdir is proud of this. In his youth, Valdir began going to the gym to overcome his drug addiction. However, he soon realized that he couldn't achieve incredible results with basic exercise, but he found a solution: synthol. Valdir is a true believer that the bigger his muscles, the better he'll look, and even though his biceps are already 19.6 inches wide, that's still not enough for him. Nonetheless, it's not just his biceps, but the rest of his arms and his chest as well. At over 50 years old, doctors are concerned about possible nerve damage as well as heart problems due to the abuse of this substance. Yet Valdir doesn't plan to stop and just wants to keep bulking up. Number 7. Alvaro Pereira. Brazilian Alvaro Pereira is Tony Geraldo's brother, and like him, he's also a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger and believes in the idea that the bigger, the better. He also gave in to the routine of injecting Potenay B12 into his muscles combined with long hours in the gym to get a puffed body like the Thing. Besides, he was the first to start using that drug when he was just 15, then Tony tagged along. Just like his brother, his muscles grew to gigantic sizes. His biceps were 25 inches wide. Alvaro is nicknamed Conan for his huge muscles, but to achieve that, Alvaro had to spend over 30 years injecting and expanding his muscles to the point that they looked deformed and made him appear less and less human. However, this chemical is very addictive and can cause depression, kidney damage, and even death. Hence why doctors have also advised him to stop using said drug for the sake of his health. Number 8. Ronnie Rono.
Nimekuwa mgonjwa for 2 years.
That one you just heard is Ronnie Rono, and as you can see, his body suffered the disastrous effects of synthol. The most incredible thing is that Ronnie himself doesn't remember ever having injected these substances. In fact, he mentioned that perhaps someone had injected them during his bodybuilding days. Little by little, the use of synthol made his muscles in his body no longer look firm and sturdy to the point that they seemed to be hanging like potato sacks, starting from his right arm and going all over his body. This caused him a severe depression, which he even admitted led him to cry and rarely leave his bed. Sadly, Ronnie passed away due to a series of complications attributed to his condition. Ronnie used to come and go from hospitals quite often, and doctors confirmed that his body had symptoms of synthol abuse. Number 9. Mustafa Ismail. Many bodybuilders use different substances to gain muscle mass, but the great majority never cross the line of abusing it. The Egyptian Mustafa Ismail wasn't one of them.
I eat a lot of protein and this my nutrition.
Also known as the Egyptian Popeye, Mustafa clearly shows bodily signs of synthol abuse, yet he refuses to admit it. His sole goal was to bulk up his arms, which are gigantic in proportion to the rest of his body. It seems as if his body can barely hold those two cannons in his arms, which measure an unbelievable 31 inches in circumference. However, Mustafa stated that his entire body is natural and even believes that all his body is proportionately balanced. The scandal was such that even the Guinness Records took away his title of the world's largest biceps. To the next one on the list, the oil did get out of hand. He went too far and ended up looking very ridiculous. Number 10. Kenny O'Neill. Why should you work out to show off strong muscles if you can simply inject synthol into your body? It seems that was exactly the plan for the American bodybuilder Kenny O'Neill. Unfortunately, and as we can see, his body ended up looking like a science suit from Dragon Ball Z, apart from showing a misshaped, unsightly stomach. But believe it or not, the American refuses to accept that he has ever injected oil into his muscles. Indeed, he even says that he has never seen it in his life. However, he owns up to having used steroids. When he was asked about a few pictures of a bodybuilding event in Vancouver where he shows a very misshapen body, he just said nonsense. According to him, a few days before, he had gotten infections due to testosterone injections, and that's why his stomach was swollen, and he also had shoulder inflammations. What do you think? I hope this has been an educational journey on what not to do if you want to have a fit body. Do you think it was worth it for any of them? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to watch these other interesting videos. Here are some other amusing videos. Don't miss out on them.